I never thought I'd have to explain something like this. I come from what other people would call a stable household. My parents were together for 20 years, never spoke ill of each other, and my dad joked that they were each other's soulmates. I turned 21 last year and I was in a safe, steady relationship with someone I cared about deeply. His name is Josh. I met him through mutual friends in college. I was living at home during my final semester and saw him at a study group. We started dating quietly, no big announcement, just dinners, walks around town, and Netflix on Sundays. He was kind, responsible, good at listening. My mom always said that whoever ended up with me should be capable of small kindnesses, that was her standard. I thought Josh had met it. My mom seemed to like him enough. She never gushed, but she was polite. My dad asked once if he hung out with me too much, in an attempt to tease. But it felt like he was checking, and I assured him we were just friends 2 weeks before we made it official. Then 4 months later, everything unraveled. A twist I once thought impossible. I came home from class one Tuesday afternoon and I could sense the house felt charged. That electric feeling when the air shifts, and you walk into a room and suddenly realize something's changed. I heard my mom's voice in the kitchen talking quietly on the phone. I froze for a moment. I didn't mean to listen, but I heard her say, "I know it feels wrong, but I can't stop thinking about him. He makes me feel alive." The voice on the other end responded softly. I backed away quickly, stomach twisting. That morning I kissed my boyfriend. I'd told him about my plans to restart nursing school after summer break. I'd walked around campus singing to myself, happy. When I got home, I expected a hug, dinner, normal. Instead, I walked in and crossed paths with my mom in the hallway, looking tired and tense. She said nothing. I carried my bag to my room, heart pounding. After a few hours I texted Aisha, my closest friend, "Something weird is happening. I think Mom is upset." I didn't tell her what I overheard. I was scared. That evening after dinner, Dad asked me to help clear the table. I followed him into the kitchen and noticed the phone screen left open. A message notification flashed, "Can't wait to see you at 8. The sender name was Jay. I didn't open it. I just stared. Dad turned and realized I was behind him. He grabbed the phone, locked it quickly, and walked away. I felt sick. I directed my attention to washing dishes too fast, hands shaking. Later I told Dad I didn't feel well and I went upstairs. I called Aisha, "It's worse than I thought. Something's wrong between them." She answered instantly, "Are you okay? Want me to come over?" I said, "Not yet, I just need a minute." I looked at the ceiling and cried. I didn't tell Aisha everything because I didn't want to believe what I was starting to. That night I lay in bed, phone dark, brain buzzing. I kissed my mom goodnight and she smiled at me, tiredly. I nodded. I whispered, "Love you." She said, "I love you too, honey." I wasn't sure which part of her heart felt that. The rest of me ached with confusion. The next morning, I decided to skip class. I said I had a headache, which wasn't entirely a lie. My stomach was tight, and I couldn't eat more than a few bites of toast. My mom had already left for work, and my dad sat quietly at the table, scrolling through his phone. I tried not to look at him. Tried to act normal. But I noticed his eyes kept drifting to the screen, and his fingers hovered over it longer than usual. I wanted to scream, to ask him what he knew, if anything. But the fear of confirming it kept me silent. Around noon, I texted Josh, "Want to hang out later?" He replied almost instantly, "Can't today. Sorry babe, something came up." "Tomorrow?" I stared at the message for a long time. He never called me babe. He called me by my name. I brushed it off as nothing. People can be weird over text. Still, something about it stuck to my ribs. By 4 p.m., my mom wasn't home yet. My dad had left to grab a few things, and I was alone in the house. I don't know what came over me, but I went into the living room and picked up her iPad from the charging station. She often used it for reading, but I remembered she was logged into her iMessages there. My hands were shaking, my mind screaming, "Don't do this. You won't like what you find." But I opened the Messages app anyway. There it was. A thread with someone saved as J. My breath caught. The first message at the top of the thread read, "Can't stop thinking about last night. I still smell like you." My fingers trembled as I scrolled. "You said she doesn't suspect anything. She's just a kid, she won't figure it out. Can't wait for next weekend. Wish we didn't have to sneak around." Then, "She kissed me goodbye this morning, LOL. If she only knew." I dropped the iPad. I didn't need to scroll anymore. I didn't want to see more. But something in me already knew. Knew the truth. Josh, my boyfriend, was Jay. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. For a moment, the world spun around me. I sat on the cold tile floor, my back against the bathtub, knees pulled to my chest, shaking. I had never felt such a direct betrayal. From both of them. The man I loved and the woman who raised me. When I finally gathered enough strength to stand, I splashed water on my face and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked pale. Sunken. My eyes didn't even look like mine. My hands were red from gripping the toilet. I knew I needed to talk to someone, but I didn't know who. Aisha? She'd be furious. Maybe too furious. I wasn't ready for that kind of heat. I needed to process. So I went for a walk. Just left the house and walked in the direction of nowhere. I played music loudly through my earbuds, but it couldn't drown out the roaring in my head. I started replaying every single moment with Josh and my mom in the same room. The small glances. The way she suddenly started dressing up on random weekday evenings. The perfume I hadn't seen her wear in years. The way Josh once joked, "Your mom's cooler than most people our age." I thought it was just innocent charm. But now everything looked different under this disgusting light. I wandered for hours, until the sun began to set. My phone buzzed, it was my dad. "Hey kiddo, where are you?" I replied. "Out for a walk. Be home soon." He just replied, "Okay." No emojis. No dad jokes. Just okay. I walked home with dread pooling in my chest. I didn't know what to say. Or if I was ready to say it. But I knew something had cracked inside me that wasn't going to be easily glued back together. That night, I pretended to be asleep when Josh called me. I watched the screen light up twice. I didn't answer. I wanted to scream at him. To throw my phone at the wall. But I didn't. Instead, I stared into the dark until morning. That night, I lay awake replaying everything, every word, every look, every lie. I couldn't believe it. Josh? Of all people? My boyfriend. My mom. I felt sick. I didn't know who I was more angry at. Her, for betraying me in the most unimaginable way, or him, for doing it with her. I wanted to scream, cry, destroy something. But I just lay there, frozen. The next morning, I pretended like nothing happened. I needed time to think. To plan. I couldn't just explode without knowing what I was going to do next. I watched my mom all day. Every move she made felt rehearsed. She laughed with my dad at breakfast. She helped him find his keys before he left for work. She texted me want anything from the store, like everything was fine. I couldn't look at her without picturing what I saw on that phone. That message. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. From Josh. To my mom. I wanted answers. But I wasn't ready to ask. Not yet. So I started looking for proof. Real proof. Something undeniable. Something that could rip the mask off and show everyone who they really were. I knew Josh's password, he always said he had nothing to hide. I waited until he fell asleep at my place a few nights later. My hands were shaking, but I opened his phone. I found the thread. Him and my mom. I scrolled back weeks. Maybe even months. Flirty texts. Inside jokes. Plans to see each other when I was busy. I found photos. Nothing explicit, but definitely not something any mom should be sending her daughter's boyfriend. Or receiving from him. My heart broke a little more with every message. But I kept going. I needed everything. I took screenshots, emailed them to myself, and then deleted the history. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I went to work pretending everything was fine while my world crumbled beneath me. I couldn't stop thinking, how could they? Why would they? That evening, I got home and found my dad in the garage working on some old project. I just stood there watching him. This man who had always been steady, kind, loving. He had no idea. No clue that the woman he married and the boy he let into his home were sneaking around behind his back. Behind my back. I almost told him then. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to be sure of what I wanted. Revenge? Closure? Or just the truth out in the open? Later that week, I confronted Josh. I waited until we were alone. I didn't want yelling. I wanted to see his face when I said it. How long have you been sleeping with my mom? His face went white. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. I held up my phone. The screenshots. The texts. The truth. Don't lie, I said. I already know everything. He looked down, rubbed his face, and just muttered, I didn't mean for it to happen. Like that made it better. Like that fixed anything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, get out. I blocked him everywhere. Deleted every photo. Every message. And then I sat in my room, staring at the wall, trying to decide what to do next. The hard part was still ahead. Telling my dad. Facing my mom. Tearing this whole perfect-looking family apart with the truth. But I knew one thing for sure, they didn't deserve to keep pretending. And I didn't deserve to carry the weight of their lies. I didn't know what to do with myself after that. I sat in my car, in the driveway of my friend's house, staring at the steering wheel with tears rolling down my face. There were so many emotions crashing through me, confusion, rage, deep betrayal, and a strange numbness that kept setting in like a fog. I had never felt so alone before. Not only had Josh, someone I trusted, someone I thought I might have loved, betrayed me, but my mom, the person who raised me, the person who was supposed to protect me from heartbreak like this, was part of it. It wasn't just the betrayal of a boyfriend, it was the shattering of a foundation I didn't even realize I depended on so much. The next morning, I went home. I had to. My stuff was there. My dog. And despite how sick it made me feel, I needed answers. My mom acted like nothing had happened. She was in the kitchen, humming, making coffee. When I walked in, she greeted me with a too sweet hey, honey, like she hadn't just detonated a bomb over my life. I asked her straight up, are you sleeping with Josh? Her face froze, and I saw it. That flicker of guilt. Of realization. Of panic. But she tried to recover. She lied, right to my face. What? Of course not. Where is this coming from? I just stood there. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. After a few seconds, her face cracked. She looked away and quietly said, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Like that helped. What followed was one of the most surreal conversations of my life. My mom told me that she and Josh had started talking more when he'd come around. She said she felt seen by him in a way she hadn't felt with my dad for years. That they connected. That it just happened. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She tried to justify it as some sort of accidental emotional affair that got out of control. She admitted they had been seeing each other secretly for weeks. That they had planned to tell me eventually. She said she didn't think it would go this far. Like that made any of it okay. I asked her if she was in love with him. She didn't answer. I walked out. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't say goodbye. I just left. I stayed with my friend again that night, but this time it wasn't temporary. I started looking for a sublet the very next day. I couldn't be in that house anymore. It didn't feel like home. It felt like a lie. Josh tried to text me. Then he called. I blocked him. He emailed me. I blocked that too. Then he showed up at my work. He tried to tell me he was confused. That it wasn't what I thought. That he was trying to figure out what he felt. I told him to leave before I called security. I later found out from a mutual acquaintance that Josh had moved in with my mom. Let that sink in. My ex-boyfriend moved into my childhood home with my mother. They were dating. Officially. Openly. Like it wasn't twisted beyond belief. The worst part? My dad still didn't know. I felt sick. But I also felt a strange sense of responsibility. I couldn't let him be blindsided. I told him. He was quiet. Numb. He didn't cry. He just nodded and said, "Thank you for telling me." He moved out a week later. Our family was never the same after that. There was no way it could be. Holidays were a mess. I went low contact with my mom. Eventually, no contact. She sent me a wedding invitation a year later. Her and Josh. I didn't go. She's still with him now. I see pictures sometimes. They look happy. Or maybe they just look it. I don't know how someone rebuilds after something like this. I've spent years in therapy trying to work through the betrayal. The shame. The anger. I still don't fully trust people. I'm working on that. But one thing I do know, I'll never let someone make me question my worth again. And I'll never ignore my gut when it screams that something's off.